Yeah. Check, check, check. Hey. Yeah. Check 1, 2. All right. Greetings, dimensions and dementites. Let's see what we got here. Um, YouTube is working. That's always good. It doesn't always work. Um, let's see. Let us see. Raymond Helfrich, how are you, my friend? Raymond, can you hear me okay? And Michael Beignet, how are you, my friend? I always depend on my friends for sound check and all that, but I'm always trying to figure out better ways to do this, folks. So I've switched things around. Can you hear me okay? Let me turn up just a little bit. Can you hear me okay? Check, check. Michael, that's that's good. How about just New Year, right? Let's start there. Oh boy. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Like, I always depend on my friends for I'm not a huge resolutions guy. I used to be. Switch things around. Can you hear me okay?
Geez,
after
turn up just
almost 2 years of pandemic,
I'm just a huge guy.
Things around. Can you hear me okay?
Geez,
Actually, where am I?
Almost 2 years
of pandemic.
I'm just a huge guy.
Set up. Can you hear me okay?
Actually,
Where am I?
Almost 2 years of
But
pandemic. I'm just a huge guy.
set up. Can you hear
Continue.
me okay?
I'm not a
Actually,
huge
where am I?
Almost 2 years of
But
pandemic.
I do a couple things of course because
I'm not a
actually
huge
it's Julian.
Almost 2 years of
But
pandemic.
I do a couple things of course. It's Julian, right? Julian.
Almost 2 years of
But
pandemic.
I do a couple things of course. It's Julian, right? Oh, all right. I do a couple things of course. It's Julian, right? Because YouTube is on or something. I probably just got rid of it, right? Did it go away? Let's make sure we have nothing else on the inputs. Did that work? That worked? Okay. 1,000 entrees. Jeez. One is twice too much for most people. So that's thank you, folks. What happens here? You know what? Let me share. I'm in a sharing mood. I always am. And that's the thing. We do these things like around the holidays, and I'm always trying to say, well, let's be kind the rest of the year, right? Let's give some gifts the rest of the year. Let's give thanks for things. And I'm not saying don't do them in holidays. That's great. I do embrace that because if it gets people to think about stuff. Kwanzaa, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which I remember. I always remember unity, creativity, and faith, but I can't remember them all. Take my black card, but whatever. But they are, again, to that point. Shouldn't we try to do these things every day? The 7 principles of Kwanzaa, for instance, unity, umoja, unity, kujichakulia, self-determination, ujima. I knew a guy named Ras Ujima. I still know him. Self-determination, ujima, collective work and responsibility, ujama, cooperative economics, naya or nia, purpose. Of course, that's a beautiful name too. People have that name. Kumba, creativity, and imani, faith, another name that people use. But let's do that every day, right? I mean, and this isn't novel. This isn't an incredible idea. Of course, many people say, let's work on collective work and responsibility and self-determination the whole year. So I do support that, there's that time to remind yourself. I'm not like bashing holidays here. I choose to not really do much with them or do some different things. But I love that I'm all about suggestions. I never want to tell people what to do, but I want to suggest and I want to nudge and have people think of things maybe they haven't thought of. And so one thing is to take all these holidays, to take the New Year's resolution thing and kind of say, I beat myself up, right? I set these goals on January 1st and all these things. And we've all been there, right? And you don't make it. And then you feel bad about yourself and you kind of, so maybe just looking at that and trying to just be aspirational throughout the year, but set realistic goals, realistic plans. Drink a little more coffee, and which I've had none today. Today was today was an English tea day. Yeah, that's right, mate. I put the kettle on. So I'm not maybe as caffeinated as I usually am. I should get another tea. Um, anyway, now here we are. It's working. Michael Beignet, you are not stroking out. Um, RB Kratz and Lori, how are you today? Good to see you folks. Thanks for stopping by. Um, David Windsor, how are you, my friend? Ketchup is a vegetable. So a couple things I wanted to talk about today. Of course, one of them is that it's Veganuary, right? And I started on a Monday. It's always a Monday, but I started on the third day of the month. But the real Veganuary thing kind of takes you from the first of the month, but that's okay. Again, to my point, it's just a general thing. But I'll put the link in the chat as I always do. But I wanted to make sure you know there's a website. It's very simple, veganuary.com, and they're just kind of saying, hey, January is a good month to try it out because you're obviously starting a new month, starting a new year. It just as I was saying before, there's nothing wrong with kind of utilizing these calendar points. It's just be careful that you don't make yourself feel horrible if you don't hit the marks. But one mark that's kind of cool is it's a good there's kind of an organization around the idea of hey, maybe I can start a new uh, path on my diet. Not change it all at once, right? Not get to some impossible goal, but maybe mix things up a little bit. So there's Veganuary. You can go to it. There's all kinds of recipes and eating guides and goofy videos and you know all kinds of stuff. There's some statistics. As I've talked about for man, it's a year and a half solidly that I've been doing this show with your help, with your kind support as people to stop by. Um, and what's been great is tracking during that time period. As you know, I always spend a little time on each show on how the mainstream is embracing this, right? The you know, not only the companies, the fast food companies, but companies like Heinz, or today I'm going to talk a little bit about Philadelphia cream cheese, who has a vegan cream cheese. And when these big companies um, get involved, as I always point out, I'm not saying that means we go back and change our lives and start eating at fast food. I'm not. I have to. We live in a time of caveats, right? Because you say stuff now, and someone's going to find that and put it out of context. And so I'm not saying, and I do this every week. Some of you might be sick of hearing it, but it's unfortunately necessary. I'm not saying, you buy a case of Impossible Burgers, or you live on these, kind of simulacrum chicken nuggets, or that you go to McDonald's just because they have a veggie burger, or that you start eating, um, you know, stuff that came in a box shipped to you. I'm not saying that. I never am, but I'm rejoicing that in a capitalist system, in a capitalist society where they're going to make things, we're going to buy them. That's kind of the basics, and I'm doing two things. I'm trying to urge you to close the gap of how many things you need to buy, right? By eating lower on the food chain and eating a more efficient diet, eating a more optimal diet, cooking more yourself. All of those approach that goal, but also maybe growing a bit of food yourself. We talk about that all the time. And that goes for someone in the smallest apartment in a city somewhere. I've seen people, I know people, I've been in those houses. I've lived in Brooklyn in a small apartment. We had a couple flowers. I guess we weren't growing food, but the point is you can grow things even on a windowsill in the smallest little apartment. even if you just grow some parsley and thyme, the 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 rewarding aspect of that, just that you grew something and you put that in your soup or your omelets or your juices or whatever you might use. I've seen people go crazy. I've seen people with all kinds of stuff throughout their home where the sun comes in, planting in apartments, planting in high rises. So to me, that's the outer extreme. That's the most difficult person, uh, uh, the most challenged person. But they're doing it all the way to anyone who has a little bit of grass in front of their house, behind their house, and certainly those of you who live where there's a yard, where there's a way to. So I'm always urging people, do what you can, even if you put a few pots out, just some tomatoes, some peppers, some parsley, some easy to grow scallions. You'd be amazed uh, how much yield there is. First of all, it's always surprising to people, especially for certain things, and how much that little bit of not buying boxes of cherry tomatoes throughout the season because you're growing an insane amount of cherry tomatoes, and they do go crazy. So I'm always going to remind people of that throughout this year. Um, let's see, I'm on a pretty static and lame picture there. Sorry. Um, this is a motionary lame picture, a non-stationary um, lame picture. Motionary, is that a word? Um, so there's the link, and we have that to reference. Let's put that there. Okay, great. Let me come back to some comments. So today, folks, I'm just going to talk a little bit about gratitude that I'm able to do this heading into a second year, thanks to you folks. Um, I do take donations because this is one of the things I do for a couple hours, and I just put my time in. And many people have been kind and thrown a little bit in the cup. I also, though, I don't like handouts, but I also I won't not take them. But I also uh, that's why I've gotten into the Patreon thing, which I'm gonna try to amplify this year, and which I'm gonna try to do a bit of expansion on this next month because it'll be a 1 year on my birthday, February 9th. But with Patreon, I'm doing performances, workshops, lessons, get-togethers. There's a food aspect. If you go look at the choices, there's a part of it where we get into recipes and food prep and stuff. We're just starting that up. Um, so that's fun, and a lot of my friends are doing Patreon. A lot of us artists, again, we're at the 2 year mark almost. 2 years ago, how many of y'all? This is my first question for the crowd. 2 years ago, how many of you were starting to hear about some strange shit? I remember that. I remember right around New Year's Eve, even, or even Christmas of 2019, just hearing this, seeing in the news, something's happening here in China. There's some outbreaks. They don't. Is it one of these market viruses again? They're already kind of saying that because they've had several at that point. But I remember. Do y'all remember that? Tell me when your first moment this got on your radar, because that's always interesting. But certainly early January, the White House and the health officials and CDC and the World Health Organization was already talking about the roughly 6 weeks of data that was already coming in from China. And here we are 2 years later. So I bring it up because it has something to do with it, our lives on a daily basis, but also because I want to talk a little bit today and see if you saw the movie Don't Look Up. I saw that last night, and it was fascinating. It overlaps a lot with all this. So let's see, what'd you have for lunch today? Because that's always fun. And we start there. What was your meatless lunch today? And if you didn't have a meatless lunch, that's okay, but don't share it with us. Let's inspire people to try something different. Um, let's see what we say. Thank you, Scott Fisher. Only room for one Andre in this planet. Well, you know, I chose to not procreate, so there's. I did stop the gene pool, so that's a mixed bag. I go back and forth, but it was, it probably was the good decision. Let's see what we got here. We have guitar pedals that we're stepping on. Ketchup is a vegetable. Hey, Reg Hogan, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. And what sad times, right? We're honoring our fallen pal, Robert Bruce, and some of you know him. Some of you saw my post below, but a good friend of ours, which we'll touch base on. Ketchup's a vegetable, and the chances are good. That's great. You guys are mixing and matching Zappa lyrics. Meg Donahue Kelly, good to see you, my friend. And it is Veganuary, or is it Veganuary? I like Veganuary. And it is, yeah. I put a link there, and you know, we'll talk about it throughout this month. Ryan, how are you, my friend? Happy Meatless. What'd you have? Oh, you had a smoothie. Nice. Spinach, banana, pineapple, mango, and almond milk. Wow. That's great. I got to get my blender game back on, man. I pulled out some vegan protein of some sort. I think it's I forget what's in there. Pea and rice and you know and that's PEA for the Weisenheimers who would say these vegans they eat pea. Um, but that sounds delicious. Spinach, banana, pineapple, mango, and almond milk. Yeah. Um, so I need to do that. I need to start getting some less calories and more movement is my goal this year. RB Kratz and Laura, you grow lettuce, tomato, potato. I love it. Yeah, more people that do some things like that. Scott is my intrepid Trader Joe's reporter. I swear, Scott, every time you let me know there's a new thing on Trader Joe, I'm like, what? I haven't been to Trader Joe in a little while. I think about 2 weeks ago, but time to go. They have such great stuff, and they have new stuff all the time. So there's what's happening? The vegan rainbow wrap and the vegan medley for breakfast. Okay, that's fantastic. That sounds good. Alonzo, what's up, Lons? How are you, man? Um, hope you're doing well. We should catch up sometime. Let me hear. I always want to hear what musicians are doing to, to maintain in this crazy shit. There's been a million things that people come up with. Um, so okay, so for January, that was one topic. Reminder: I put my Patreon in there. Check it out. Take a look. You know, all kinds of things, performances, stuff like that. Um, Second area I want to talk about, and it's I touched on this last week a little bit, um, but it's this new mayor, Eric Adams, in New York City. You know, I think it's so cool. Um, where's the one I found? I found this one on this bodega sandwich. Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit last week, but I just think it's cool that he's not alone, and there's a New York City startup called Plantega. Talked about it a little bit last week, but that's okay. Some of you were not here. But Plantega, who I think they have a food truck as well as uh, they do catering, I believe. But let's see, this isn't working. Bum, 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 bum. Anyway, they provide sandwiches for other shops for other companies, and this is really cool that they came up with a vegan bodega sandwich. It's just a nice wrap. And Scott, you just reminded me. Well, Eric Adams was on my list, but you reminded me to talk about the sandwich. Um, uh, and this place, Plantega, is doing this sandwich. So it's not a huge deal. It's a real breakfasty kind of Northeast kind of traditional sandwich, right? Like a roll with cheese, butter, and egg. I mean, frankly, you know, not not super something I like in the morning, but I understand millions of people do. They grab and go. You jump on the subway, you run into work. So this is cool. I'll just put the article up for y'all. But it does sound this one sounds good. Spinach, red onion, avocado. I think it's just egg and then a potato-based queso sauce in a tortilla. That sounds pretty good. That sounds way more exciting than you know. But the cool thing is that Eric Adams has spoken a bunch about not only his diet and how it's helped his diabetes, helped other health issues, um, but he also points out that he wants to work on food deserts. This problem of big chunks of New York, especially, and cities in general, where you just have these areas where you can't get fresh food. Um, so I love that he's also into the economic justice issues, and he's trying to look at um, all kinds of real basic ideas, progressive ideas, helping people do startups, helping people do community gardening. He's an advocate of all that kind of stuff. These gardens that they convert in these empty lots and these abandoned lots and places throughout the five boroughs that you have uh, arable land, really, right? And you can clean it up and get in there. And people, you all have seen those stories. There's great success stories of these beautiful gardens in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, in Queens, in Manhattan, everywhere, Staten Island, where it might have been an empty lot, right? And then there's rooftop gardens happening. So I love that this guy is like touching base on a bunch of those things. So maybe he'll encourage and try to help fund it. On top of which, he has a plant-based perspective. Um, on top of that, and that he's going to be a sounding board. I can't wait for the first event with him and uh, Al Sharpton, because Al, who also credits a vegan diet with helping him lose weight and help his diabetes. Al Sharpton's been a success story. He talks about it all the time. Those of you who don't know that dramatic weight loss of Al Sharpton, didn't lose his hair. The $1 million hair is there, but he went vegan. Did you know that? And he talks about it on his website and his blogs. And he talks about how he gets up at like 5 in the morning, works out, makes a smoothie, um, has some fresh fruit, makes a salad. He kind of has a real routine, and I love it. It's funny because it touches base on an idea that I want to come back to, that I talk about repeatedly. There's this narrative that when you go vegetarian or you go uh, meatless, even partially, that you're limiting yourself, that you're restricting yourself, which I I call BS. I never, when people ask me that, do you have any dietary restrictions? I say no. I eat food from all around planet Earth. I won't eat flesh. I won't eat the slaughtered flesh of an animal or the different parts of it and stuff. So, but we have this narrative where we just walk around saying, "Oh, she limits her diet. He limits his diet. They're limiting their diet." It's crazy talk to me because over 15 years in the industry, natural foods industry, retail, 98% of the time when people would be customers and that would be part of the journey to change their diet, and not even just to go vegetarian, to change it on any of those directions. Let's say they want to cut it down to just fish or just chicken. So I'm not talking just vegan here. Or if you want people, I've helped people, countless people who are just trying to go vegetarian. They say, I want to have eggs, I want to have dairy, high quality, but help me out with, and then you have people, I've helped people go macrobiotic, go raw, macrobiotic or raw. I've helped people go uh, work on the keto diet, the zone diet, Atkins even. But particularly with the plant based thing, what I found with every single person is instead of restricting, instead of limiting, they actually eat more food now. I've had countless people who went into a vegetarian direction and they're so excited. They come in, to shop or whatever. Oh, hey, how are you? Oh my God, I never ever eaten, uh, you know, acorn squash or I've never had I've never cooked eggplant. I've seen it. It was scary, but I looked it up and now I'm salting it and roasting it. Wow, I've never made lentil soup from scratch. Wow. So my experience is people who get into a plant-based diet and do it from a real bottom up sort of a way, increase their diet options, increase what they eat. That's what I see every time because suddenly you're going, oh, Mediterranean food, Middle Eastern food. I've had that once or twice, but I don't really know what. Oh wow, look, there's so many vegetarian. I'm going to start eating more of what is this? Okay, it's tabbouleh. I learned how to make it. Oh, baba ganoush, hummus. Oh, spanakopita. Okay, different things, different ways of roasting vegetables. Oh, I get it. They take artichoke hearts, cut them in half, but I've never tried this. Okay, uh, Thai food. I love that. Let me Oh, okay. 6 months later, making soups, making curries. I've seen this over and over, scores of times. So I want to. I'm starting my year with that's some of my aspirations to talk about language, talk about words, talk about the power of language, and that's one of them. We beat ourselves up, and people go, "Oh, I have a restrictive vegan diet." What the fuck is that? Most people I know, and I'm looking at you right now, someone who's going to be offended by this, but maybe I'm not talking about you, but most flesh consuming people that I work with, travel with, have in my life, my family, whatever, most of them, they're eating the restrictive diet, right? They're eating chicken breast a couple times a week. I know people that only eat chicken and turkey, and they seem to eat every day one of three things: turkey breast on rye or whole wheat, like that's the variety, the bread, uh, uh, roasted turkey breast, chicken breast, and then they'll move some vegetables around it. Maybe it's got some gravy, maybe it's a little drier, maybe it's with the peas, or maybe it's with asparagus, maybe it's got a teriyaki thing on it. But it's just another piece of chicken every day or two, right? And then switching it around. So I find that a lot of people it's chicken, turkey, and maybe beef and pork. Maybe fish is a special thing. But really, when you think about it, it's those five or six things in heavy rotation with slight variations, right? Usually in a sandwich, over some pasta, over some rice, maybe, uh, or straight up, like having a steak or something with just a potato and, uh, uh, if we're lucky, a little salad or some peas or something. But I'd like people to think about that. Think about who's really restricting. Is it the standard American diet that shuffles around four or five types of animal in a pretty, you know, a list of a half dozen choices of how to have it, 10 choices, versus going into a diet that enables you, and certainly if you eat flesh, you could increase your Ethiopian recipes and your Malaysian recipes and your German recipes and your Peruvian recipes. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the other way around. If you go into a meatless lifestyle, plant-based lifestyle, and you're trying to increase it, the inverse really helps you a lot too, because suddenly you're going, wow, I love Indian food, and now I'm gonna try these things. Indian food, one of the most vegetarian friendly foods, of course, thousands of years of vegetarianism in India, right? Uh, Religiously and culturally. But think about what I'm saying there. That you actually can expand your options, expand your diet, and this notion that it's restricting is, I just think, false. Hello on YouTube to Cheryl. How you doing, Cheryl Griffith and Frank, my good friend? How are you, bro? Good to see you there, and I making sure I don't neglect the Facebook folks. I'm sorry, YouTube folks. I got to check Twitter too because I missed someone there the other day. But usually no one's on Twitter or they don't comment. There's usually just two or three. Um, let's see. Jim Brady, how are you, my friend? Plant fruit trees everywhere. Exactly, bro. Right? Johnny Appleseed. So good to see you here, Jim. We should catch up on a call, bro. It's been a minute. Yeah, let's catch up on a call because we're not gonna be here fucking forever, man. I'm losing too many friends. So real talk. I might be gone. You might be gone. It's bullshit. Let's get on a call. Lost a couple friends recently. Not that I'm getting dark here that we're sick or something, but it's the real deal, right? We're pushing 60. So yeah, you harvested Japanese hybrid persimmons. Wow, delicious. There were hundreds going to waste. Yeah, I know, man. The amount of food that's thrown away. Damn. Mark Lorano. Mark Lorano, how are you, my friend? Talk about loss. My friend Mark Lorano has been navigating loss and thinking about you a lot, Mark. We I'm sure you saw too that Laura Darty's husband just passed, right? You saw this? I mean, wow. Yeah, Robert Bruce. I'm sure you met him. But you and I have been talking about this for a while. Like, hey, let's get you on the show, man. Let's the new year. Let's start out. Mark Lorano, let's have you look. Let's do this real time. Mark, can you be here next Monday, January 10th? Because it's Veganuary, and it's long overdue. Let's see if I can bookmark right now, live real time. You're invited next Monday, the 10th, Mark, at 3 p.m. Let me know right here if you can do that. Um, Sharon, yeah. Tabbouleh, yeah. Tabbouleh has a special place in my heart because when I went vegetarian in late '83, early '84, I never know exactly. Um, a couple of things were great. One thing was my mom was super supportive. She was great, and she just immediately she cooked great vegetables anyway, which helped me snap into the idea right away. Uh, and she had great side dishes. And we're from the Caribbean. We're from South America. We're from Guyana, formerly British Guyana. So we grew up with not only a tropical diet, with meaning a lot of fruits and vegetables and fresh food most of the year, all of the year, but we also had a real hybrid diet. You had the food culture of different African nations, of parts of India, parts of Europe, parts of England and Portugal. Spanish people were there at one point, Dutch people. So you had all kinds of cuisines mixed up. Guyana and a lot of countries in that history line are very interesting because they have a real melting pot of stuff. And that's the good and the bad of colonialism. Colonialism is fucking horrible. It's mostly bad. But as always, you have a silver lining with anything. And one of them is this collision of cultures. So growing up in Guyana and looking back and learning about foods, I knew a lot of Indian food because we're mostly slightly predominant Indian population. And I have some Indian relatives. I have Indian blood. We are people who grew up with Indian holidays and culture and the foods. It was our favorite food. So I grew up with a lot of curries. So again, back to my mom and going vegetarian. So things like potato curry, chickpea curry called chana curry, things like mixed vegetables, vegetable soup, different dumplings, and all these sweet potatoes and greens and stuff that were indigenous there. She cooked those anyway, so it was like, okay, just make sure we have that for him. He wants to do this, She never gave me shit about it. She never questioned it. She never asked about. She trusted me, and she said, I think I'm remembering in indirectly here, but I think she just kind of said, you know, read some books, know what you're doing, that kind of general thing. But tabbouleh was one of the first things. I remember I got to learn how to cook things myself, and I think I had tabbouleh at my first Middle Eastern restaurant. Couldn't believe it. I was so in love with this. I was like, "You're kidding me! This is it's green and there's pieces of cukes and tomatoes and it's got a tangy vinegar kind of a vibe. I love that. I just couldn't believe it. And then when I found out how simple, so I used to buy the Fantastic Foods tabbouleh in a mix, the box. I learned how to make it from scratch later. You just buy some bulgur and get your parsley, get your onions, get whatever. But I remember that day. That was like the universe opened up. That company, Fantastic Foods. I think it was no traditional, the Near East Traditional. Is that the brand? They had a tabbouleh mix, a hummus mix, a falafel mix before you learn how to do these things from scratch. So yeah, there we go. Mark Lorana. Okay, we're confirmed. Okay, folks, next week we have our first guest of 2022, my dear old friend Mark Wolf Lorano. And just to set it up, and I'll put something out there about this. Mark is one of my oldest friends. You know, I've known him. Geez, I was a preppy little kid with a short afro. He used to bust my chops. But I think I was 17 when I met him. Yeah. No, I would have been 19. But anyway, Mark had a restaurant called Grazers. Um, Mark and his lovely wife Beth ran this restaurant called Grazers in Highland Park, as in cows grazing. And um, you know, couldn't believe it when I stumbled into that place. I was going to Middlesex County College, driving back and forth to Rutgers, and right in Highland Park there, and you see, oh man, somehow I heard about it, but I went in there, couldn't believe there's a whole restaurant with uh, no blood in it, and so I ate there many times. We became great friends. I wrote about Grazers. I used to write about vegetarian food in Middlesex County. Can you believe that? Of course you can. Uh, I had my vegetarian guide to eating in New Brunswick published in the Rutgers University paper. They gave me a center page, centerfold, with my only centerfold so far. It'll be my only centerfold period. But I have it somewhere. I have copies of this. I gotta scan that stuff. But very proud of that. In fact, I looked back at it a few years ago and I was like, dude, this was pretty good. This dumb 19-year-old nerd. It was pretty good because I wrote about where would you find food if you're a vegetarian, and uh, there was a lot, of course, and I listed, Chinese restaurant. Here's some things you can have. Questions to ask. Middle Eastern restaurant. Grazers. Mark Lorano's restaurant. I talked about the food trucks, which are part of the Rutgers ecosystem. I talked about Indian restaurants in the area. I talked about natural food stores. I gave a few hints on just being in your regular supermarket. So this is that time period, 1984, 85. This wonderful restaurant was a big part of my life, Grazers. But bigger than Grazers is the story of Mark Lorano, who's a chef, world traveler, started many businesses, lived in a couple different countries. Can't wait to talk to him about his passion for animals, for the environment, for making life better for fellow human beings. That's what this man has always been about to me, and just putting out love and positivity and looking for solutions. And I can't wait to speak to him. It's been a while, and we're going to do it here. So that's next Monday. Uh, so coming back, tell me what you had for lunch, y'all. I have not eaten much. What did I have? A handful of almonds, I think. I'm gonna have a samosa in a little bit. Um, Jim Brady, yeah, the Cedar Restaurant. Yeah, God, where was that? I'm picturing now. The Cedar is a name that's used a lot, and I learned this later as I traveled around the world because it's the tree of Lebanon. It's on their flag, and it's kind of the so. I think there's a U2 song, right? The Cedars of Lebanon. Great song. Uh, so the Cedar Restaurant. I'm trying to picture. Help me out. Tell me what street that was on. But I remember fantastic Middle Eastern food. Like any good college town, you better have fantastic, you know, uh, Middle Eastern. Sharon says you can do. Um, oh, okay. You're talking about Tabbouleh, I think. Right, right. Sure, right. That's the thing. It's pretty open source. Like it doesn't even have to be Bulgar. Actually, I've had a lot of Tabbouleh lately with quinoa as the grain. I've had it actually. Speaking of Trader Joe, I love the Trader Joe one that uses cauliflower. There's a grain-free tabbouleh. First, I was like, but I try everything. I roll my eyes when people don't try stuff, but then they know they hate it. I don't really get that. How do you know? So I try stuff. If it's something that it's a substance I would eat, even if I'm like, I don't know, I try it because time after time you're surprised. maybe there's one ingredient that changes it and you end up liking it. It's my water. But I remember going, really cauliflower and wow, cauliflower tabbouleh, fantastic. So yeah, the grain can be different. It could be different types of parsley. Even cilantro works in there. Um, but then after that, maybe the tomatoes, the lemon juice, vinegar in a pinch, but lemon juice, ume plum vinegar is good. Uh, but definitely the grain or the grain simulacrum, chopped tomatoes, chopped parsley, chopped cukes is even optional, but I love that. But then you can go wherever. You can, you know, like you said, put some tofu in there, sure. Make it a little bit more of a protein thing. Some tempeh, some broccoli, hot peppers. I've done tabbouleh with hot peppers. Um, so yeah, it's a beautiful salad in that way. Okay, Jimbo, I'm remembering. Yeah, Aurora worked there. Okay, Cedar. I'm picturing it. I just can't see the front of it in my mind's eye. Albany Street. Yeah. Oh, I know. Anyway, that's awesome. Excuse me, folks. Not hydrating enough. I'm gonna set this right here so I can remember. Um, see. Okay. Um. All right. So, don't look up. I'll come back to Veganuary a little bit. There's some specific stuff, but did anyone see that movie? Don't look up. Wow, man. Movie was heavy. Movie was truly heavy. I'd love your thoughts on it. I thought it was you know riveting. Is the word. Wow. Rarely does a movie live up to hype. My experience leading up to the movie, I uh let's see, my mind is now doing some geographical math. Let's see, between on George Street, between New Street and Livingston. Okay, yeah, yeah. Yep, I'm picturing right where that is. Okay, yeah, that's a one long block, I think. Okay, no, I got it. And I'm seeing the logo and the stuff. So don't look up. I mean, I saw the trailer and right away I was like, man, that's my movie. Holy shit, are they really going there? And then I kind of a couple weeks went by. Then it was holidays and stuff, and not that I did much, but it was a busy time, and I just thought, oh yeah, that movie. And then I heard from a friend or two, and then I read a review by this guy Bob Lefsetz, who I really love, a music industry guy, but he talks about all kinds of stuff. And I was like, all right, that's right. I gotta bump this movie up to the top of the viewing list. Wow. So Thomas Bell, how are you, my friend? It's been too long. How are you? Um, you're right. Don't look up as our society. Dumb all over. That's it, bro. No, this movie, folks. I'll put the trailer here or something. You got to see this movie. I mean, it's but then it's already seeing a backlash, and that's what I love is that there's, you know, um, yeah, we're just in this time where there's a lack of nuance. Like, I don't know. There's some way to say, hey, it's overhyped. I don't like hypey movies. I don't like, but I saw it and I could pull a few things from the message. But I think we're at this point where we're all just reactionaries. You know, um, we shouldn't be. It's pretty easy to train yourself not to be, and to try to just filter out things like hype and oversell and stuff like that, and and just try to get to the core of it. This is a good movie where that's an exercise because there's a core to it. There's a couple, and as Thomas Bell points out, it is our society. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but and the basic premise of the movie is right there in the trailer, so there's no you know, it's right in the trailer that it has to do with a meteor or a comet, coming towards the Earth. But I won't spoil anything. But I'll say that it beautifully touches base on a whole bunch of things in modern society. Whether it's the, staring at your phone while other people are literally speaking to you, whether it's the vapidity of, you know, the social media driven kind of cycle that we're in. And there's a dichotomy, and this is what it's about: the nuances, the dichotomy. Because obviously, I'm using social media right now. I'm using it. I'm using Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook and YouTube to broadcast this show. So obviously, I'm fine with social media. But then I don't even have to say it. It's obvious. There's a dark side of that, like sitting in front of it. You know, social media and endlessly referring to this chain of information. So they kind of touch base on a few of these little things. So many things. Oh my God. I have my friend John C's the Price. Same exact review as you, John C's the Price. John says we streamed Don't Look Up. Excellent satirical movie making that's highly relevant. Solid A minus movie. Super smart stuff. That's I could have written that. I called it an A minus earlier to another friend of mine. That's exactly right. There's just a couple little things where you go, really? That was a shitty writing. Uh, but not much, just one or two little things. So anyway, good good uh, discussion on a bunch of issues in uh, that we're going through currently. Um, Trying to see if there's any comments on the Twitter stream. Sometimes there are, and I miss them. I also got to make sure I go to the YouTube. See if there's any questions there. YouTube. There it is. Okay. Do 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 do. Harry, Irene. Okay. I don't want to leave out any folks. Scott, what's up, bro? Scott and I were having a what's the word? A rousing discussion of the ins and outs of this crazy movie. Um, Scott says, "Love how Neil deGrasse Tyson said everything I know about news cycles, talk shows, social media, and politics tells me a film tells me the film was instead a documentary." I get what he's saying. Yeah, I don't know if he's being pejorative there, but was he? You tell me. Was it a recording or was this in print? Because that's the other thing too. Um, was it a documentary? Well, um, yeah, I get what he's saying. There is a documentary aspect to it because um, it's accurately, yeah, giving you a didactic snapshot of here's how some people act on human Earth, how humans work on planet Earth. Uh, that whole narrative with the pop star and the boyfriend, it was great, man. And what was great is, again, these are tiny spoilers, I guess, but not really. But if I got to watch it again because so many little things you catch. And I'm a very active listener. Phones go away, lights go off if I can. I'm there to watch the fucking movie. Not a big fan of people trying to do things while watching a movie. It's just one of my things. Uh, and so I tend to catch, you know, quite a bit. But movies like this deserve a couple of viewings, which this one will get. But there's that scene where the pop star and she breaks up with the rapper boyfriend and he's on the screen and everything, but she slips in there something like and then I slept with the forward from the Pacers. But anyway, which is so great because so many of these pop starlets, yeah, they're all hooked up with basketball players and a rapper, or they go from one to the other. It's great. Looking at you, Kardashians. I mean, so there's just all these little things that I can't even remember. But as you go down the line, um, just some real fun stuff. The free appearance of marijuana a bunch too was interesting, and that's a bellwether kind of a thing because it's legal in half of the country now. So you see someone blazing up a bowl, and whereas when you were young and you saw it in movies, they're doing drugs. Oh my god! Whereas now, like at first you go, oh wow, okay, they're just hitting it on the nose here. She's gonna smoke some weed, okay, but you remember that, and it's legal for most of the population. But so many things, so many little things. So I can't wait to watch it again. So NGT said in a text he enjoyed the movie. Okay, and again, I'm in agreement with him. He puts me on edge because he says so much stuff that these days that you got to go, dude. What are you doing? Plus, of course, the sexual harassment charges, which have not been resolved. Um, but yeah, to his point, that's one of the strong things of the movie is that it goes uh, head on to news cycles, talk shows, social media. Oh man, they nailed it. Uh, so much of it is a satire on the previous president. Um, you know, uh, wow, and I love how they did it in a way that, I mean, they're obviously skewering him, but you have some plausible deniability. You're like, no, wait, it's a woman president. It has nothing to do with your favorite guy until you look at some of the base personality stuff. But so many things. Now, one of the things I want to bring up is how they really kind of skipped over, um, or at least how they framed some environmental stuff, like things like you know packaging and what's in supermarkets and the foods we eat and stuff like that. Again, without getting to spoilers, that's just in the background. But again, in the face of a fucking meteor, what does anything matter? Which is one of the existential questions that's beautiful about the movie. Um, so those are some random thoughts. Again, I'm skipping over some details because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. There's so many. I'm just biting my tongue. There's things I would like to say. Like, how about that scene? So I'll talk about specifics if people like, but um, okay. All right. Well, I wanted to pivot back over to Veganuary, right? Because that's such a hip and cool thing that someone came up with. Um, and so Veganuary, I don't know if they came up with it, but they're some of the people who really put a lot of time into the Meatless Monday sort of thing. Now I've got a website, Meatless Monday Meetup.com. I had to think about it. Meatless Monday Meetup.com. I don't have much there except it's a way you can link to all the places this broadcast. So if you're ever somewhere and you can't remember how to watch me on this on a Monday, just go to meatlessmondaymeetup.com if you can remember that. Oh, we have comments on the yeah. Okay. Larry Babin says great movie. So wanted to share this. Wanted to share this. This is the Monday campaigns, and they do a bunch of different stuff, right? They do kids cooking on Monday and de-stress Monday and all these things. Just one of these aspirational things that says, hey, why not start you know, put your goals on a Monday, start the week out. That's kind of the vibe, and I like it. but really cool site because they give you. I've been to this site a couple years now, and it's really excellent because they hit you with simple, quick ingredients. I'm sorry, simple, quick recipes with basic ingredients. That looks delicious. A golden chickpea noodle soup. How about that lunch? Stuffed hummus and roasted cucumber pita. Roasted cucumber? Can you roast a cuke? You can roast anything. I've never had that. Not that I know of, but sure. So anyway, fun fun stuff here, inspirational stuff. If you're somebody who's saying, you know what, I just want to try a couple more recipes. I'm not going to go vegetarian, but maybe I can just add a few things. And they um, they just have a lot of great options and real positive vibe on helping people in this question and answer type of thing. And um, so I'm going to put that in the chat too. Um, oh, DiCaprio. Excuse me, folks. Completely impolite, yawning on air, but I didn't have enough caffeine today. It's 4 o'clock and I haven't had a cup of coffee. Can you believe that? Yeah. I'm gonna make some though right after this. Um, okay, so um, excuse me. Wow, hit me with any uh, uh, points about this movie if you wanted to talk about it, or things that uh, uh, insights you got to it. I'm going to continue on the cool new news because this is so many. I can't even keep track, and I'm sure y'all see it yourself, and you're on different email lists. Some of you present me with some of this stuff. Some of you remind me some of this stuff, but I skip like 90% of it. Who's got the time? And by the time Monday rolls around, there's been 12 new things. But I saw that Offset, right, the musician Offset, not the Offset, but his name's just Offset. Husband of Cardi B, right? He's a rap artist. He just had I saw a news thing on this. He did his 30th birthday party, and it was a vegan event. I don't know if it was 100%, but it might have been. But again, I love when the um, popular figures like this, and I know some people have such an issue with that. I don't. I just think it's great because these people are influencing fashion and music choices and you know political stuff in a good way, right? They're getting young kids aware of the struggles of black and brown people, the struggles of LGBTQ, the struggles of economically depressed Americans. They're putting that stuff in the music. They're putting those material into the music, and young people are responding. We know this. They're for some percentage. I think what happens too, you say that, and then somebody knows an example where it didn't happen, and they that's what they highlight. Of course, it's not going to impact every person. It's absurd that you have to even discuss that. But the fact that some people are inspired, that's all I'm looking at. I, I'm far from a kumbaya, happy-go-lucky, everything's positive kind of cosmic debris guy, but I also try to acknowledge the positive on a continual and daily basis, and that's one of the positives of the modern world for influencers because we always had influencers. I was joking about it last week that I think it was last week that if you believe in him, Jesus was an influencer, right? He came around through Jerusalem and influence people to look at what they're doing, love one another, not be obsessed with money, can't pass through the needle of an eye and a camel and all that. He's an influencer. Um, I believe he existed because there's pretty well done research that looks at the Romans record keeping, that there was this man, that was his name, he was put to death on such and such a date. So that's about the extent of my beliefs. But uh, the point being is that one or more humans influencing others is not a big deal. But people get so triggered by that in the modern era, right? It's a funny thing. So I love it. If for that long list I just gave you, if artists and thinkers and writers, musicians are influencing the next generation, it's fucking great. I see young people reading history. I know some of them. I'm corresponding with one right now who's uh, just lost his dad, who I was speaking about, and what a history interested, inquisitive, rational thinking young person this is. So influencing is good when it's so hats off to Offset for doing this, or whoever planned this birthday party. Um and Cardi B she's slowly going vegan, so you know she's doing it. Uh for instance, the other day she tweeted something like, "Are vegan meat replacements similar to meat in taste or not really?" She says, "I want to go vegan, but I love meat." She got 56,000 likes from that and 3,000 comments. It means there's a discussion. It means that people, not everyone's going to be for it, but people are talking to each other, communicating. Of course, that's not the end all be all, right? Of why we're here, but it's great that people are helping each other and getting these options out there. Um, so the one I wanted to point out, though, in that kind of news, the let's see if I can find the article. We talked a week or two ago about how um, there was a cream cheese shortage. Right? Did anyone catch that? Um, talk about that. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. Um, that's right. I didn't do the show last week. I was taking a mental health day. Believe me, I needed it. So look who is doing a vegan cream cheese. Um, Here it is. I'll just pull this up. I'm not saying the name, so it can, if you haven't heard, it can shock you. Like look at that. The company who kind of, defines it, Philadelphia cream cheese, has a vegan cream cheese. Now, I think that they're just testing it now, as usual, probably in Europe or something. But um, yeah, this is great. They're doing surveys and testing on it. Yeah, Vegan Food UK. And so that would be great. Something catches my eye, though, that Starbucks is going to stop charging us finally. Oh, shit. That's only in England now. Rat bastards, man. I don't really go to Starbucks much anyway. They're bastards for a bunch of reasons. Hmm. Well, that's great. Some group in England, Switch for Good, sent out a hoax press release. How about that? Claiming that Starbucks had dropped the charges. The group did so in a bid to pressure the chain and raise awareness of dietary racism. Oh, boy. Let's see. So sometimes lefties love to just use racism to stick it onto other things. It's just like racism. And so do right wingers. I have a right wing friend, actually, who is slowly not becoming my friend, who loves to dance around the issue of racism and say, it's just as bad when someone questions my views. Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same as black people taking a bullet to the head because they're in the wrong neighborhood. It's precisely the same. When your twisted views about not paying taxes or that the insurrection was faked, that's exactly the same as racism. So anyway, that seems to not be happening here because they were referring to BIPOC communities. There's a whole other bunch of unpacking there on the word BIPOC, but Black and Indigenous people of color is usually what that means. It means it has a couple meanings though, which that's always interesting when things have a couple meanings. But okay, they're going for the fact that Black and Indigenous people of color are particularly impacted by lactose intolerance. Therefore, if we're charging us extra to get a coffee, it's racism. Yeah, slippery ice there. I mean, but my thing on that is we got enough serious situations where it's racism, like really, really serious shit, right? We're right in the midst of it. We just had a judgment on this cop who shot a black person and claimed to not realize it wasn't her phaser, her taser, right? We've got the Floyd, sentencing that only happened a few months ago. We've got the Ahmaud Arbery, which went the right way, shocking decision. So we have real racism stories and many, many more. So to tack it on to the milk charge, the milk alternative charge, it's a little, but I'm not gonna. Anyway, the main news item I want to talk about there was the Philadelphia cream cheese, but I stumbled across another bit of exciting news. I'm very excited about that. I also did not know this part that Chipotle now has another vegan item. How about that? I love Chipotle, and I've sung the praises of Chipotle many times. I think it's a great concept, great idea. I love that they've been forward facing on changing their packaging. Doing these recyclable and recycled and compostable type things. These little bowls we're looking at in the picture right there. The bowls are made of plant material and biodegradable. I have composted those actually, and they do break down. I've composted those. So Chipotle is fantastic. I mean, because if you travel a lot, as I do, you're going to be in Lansing, Michigan sometime. You're going to be in LA. You're going to be in New York. You're going to be in, wherever, Roanoke, Virginia. And one thing with a chain is those all have a bunch of these. And I just love that you can go in, you know exactly what you're going to get. The quality is high. And you know that they are really leaning in and talking about allergens and better ingredients and kind of, you know. So looks like they have their first vegan chorizo. It's using pea protein, herbs, and spices. Okay, that's great. Maybe I'll try it. This is news that dropped today. So I love their guacamole is great. It's so easy to get a veggie fajita or a veggie salad, and everything's vegan actually except the meat. So that means like 90% of what is in front of you at a basic Chipotle. In other words, starting with the lettuce, the white rice, the brown rice, the black beans, the pinto beans, the corn salsa, the four other types of salsa, the guacamole. All of those are plant based, right? And then you just have one beef, one pork. Do they even have chicken? I guess they do. But whatever, they have three items that are meat, and the other 15 are vegetarian. Uh, Subtract two or three dairy ones, they're all vegan otherwise. So spectacular place because you can really go and define and design whatever you want. I get a little wigged out at these places that have like the chorizo. I don't know if I'm going to trust the 17-year-old kid to not screw up and give me the flesh chorizo. Let's look at what they say here. Wow, that looks good already. I usually don't get the rice, but look at that. Black beans, peppers. So there you go. So that's the shorty. So okay, so it looks different. Fair enough. It's got to look way different. I'm not a huge fan sometimes of the stuff that looks, um, you know, exactly like ground beef. I'm happy it's there for someone else, but not my thing. That looked delicious. Let me watch that again. I might have to go to look at that. Someone wants more rice than that. Mm, mm, mm. I just love how fast it is too. There's nothing wrong with food being fast. And that red sauce they got right there, man, that's got a kick. The hot. That's the other thing too. So many places in America do not spice stuff up. I'm tired of it. Oh, no garlic, no salt and pepper even. What the fuck is that? I love that Chipotle does not mess around, and it's garlicky. It's you know it's the umami is there, the flavoring is there, so it's really great. Um, so okay, so I just want to touch base. I have a little mental list today. So we talked about Veganuary, which we'll continue to talk about. Does anyone have any questions on getting a little more plant based into their lives? Let me know. We talked about that. We talked about a little bit on Don't Look Up, which is really great, and we talked a little bit about um, Philadelphia cream cheese. I mean, that's a huge move. That is a brand that is iconic for cream cheese. I've eaten the hell out of some Philadelphia cream cheese. I wasn't always vegan, and you live in the New York area, a good crispy, just a little bit crisp on the outside, moist on the inside bagel with hot toasted bagel with some Philly cream cheese or any cream cheese. But just thinking back to my youth, put a slice of an onion in there or something, a tomato, good. And to know that that company is leaning in on this and saying, you know what, there's a market here. So it's all about market, and I'm fine with that. We're in a a capitalist country. Um, Eric Svalgard, what's up, my bro? I was snoozing on the YouTube. Eric just got here. What time was that? Does it tell me? No, it doesn't tell me. But I'm assuming you're still there. Give me a heads up if you're still there, Eric. I was just talking about you. Tell me if your ears are burning. And of course, Eddie Rifkin, thank you for pointing out the movie is Don't Look Up. Spectacular. Man, wow. Milk is white after all. So so the okay, you're talking about the connection to racism for the Starbucks. That's very good. Very well played. And all the milks are white. See that? Even the almond milk, even the rice milk, even the oat milk, even the hemp milk. Why they always got to be white? See, you're right. Good point. I'm not angry enough. Uh, oh boy, Eric, you need to see that movie, man. And we'll talk about it. It's really great. I mean, you don't need to see anything, but I think you would like it. And it's some of the shit we've been talking about for years. I'm trying to parse and analyze. I watched it late last night. Just how many layers? It's about the layers. That's what I can't get over that they got right. There's 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 the part of the movie that you could watch while you're checking your socials. It's like, yeah, okay, meteor, yeah, gonna hit the earth. And there's the big broad brushes, right? And the kind of um the day after, is that the movie or whatever, these apocalyptic movies. It's been a few of them. There's that thread. But what I really enjoyed is the layers of satire. The layers, the little things you had to catch. The satire about social media, the satire about our elected officials, namely how, especially this most recent president, where we set the bar, the United States of America, the purportedly greatest nation on earth. We did it. We set the bar that a failed reality show host could be president. Not just a reality show host, a failed one. This guy couldn't even sell red meat to America. He failed at that. Think about that on Meatless Monday. Think about that. How do you screw up selling steak to Americans? How? It just boggles the mind. You got to have so much bad management and greed and incorrect pricing and shitty shipping or whatever things they screwed up. But how do you screw that up? And there we have it. So this movie kind of looks at that. It kind of has a little sprinkling. It's not heavy-handed at all in that aspect. But if you're watching, there's you know there's a slice of it that's saying, how about if our president was just completely and that's explored a bit. Even wacky presidential kids are explored quite a bit. But all those layers, social media, all that stuff about the environment, environmentalism, and kind of what I'm talking about, like because the shit I'm talking about here, unimportant if a meteor is heading towards us, right? Uh, who cares, right? And so that kind of is one of the one of the threads. But Eddie Rifkin, I want to give a shout out. Thanks for stopping in, bro. We got, we are. That's one more state that I have people watching today. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your mad genius applied to the effects pedal world. So let's keep talking about the ideas for new pedals because you're onto something there, bro. Um, yes, Robin Renee, good to see you here. Robin says should be a new idiom. I like that. Please say that every time you're talking to one of his supporters, or I just think one of the things we need to do as progressives, and then all the things under that umbrella, because you could be far left, you could be socialist, you could be a little this, a little that. But I think generally progressive. I think we're not doing enough narratives. We're not doing enough slogans. I'm sorry, because that's the tank we're in. We're in a fucking votership environment where they respond to quick little ideas. It's what they need. I'm sorry. We spend too much time on the left, like trying to change that. Well, let's get everyone smarter. Then they'll read all my New Yorker articles that I pass around. Then they'll agree with me from that thing I saw in Utney Reader in 1987. And then no, it's not going to happen. And it's not even about dumbing down, because while there's an aspect of that, some of the intellectuals on the right only respond to a basic, and there's a difference, kind of an idea that's just give it to me slogan. Make America great again. Got it. I understand that. Wink, wink. I know what that means. Mayberry. And it wins. Literally, it won once and just barely almost won the second time. So yeah, I think that should be a T-shirt when he runs again, and he will. The T-shirt should say, "Couldn't sell steaks to America. This is a failure. Stop electing failures, America." But there's all kinds of other, you know, psychological things that they elected. Trump vodka too. Did he make he made a vodka too, and he failed at that? I didn't know that. Anyway, getting off the track. Don't want to talk about that guy while he's a thing. The point being that this movie touched on all of this stuff. So Daniel Carter Gibson. Oh, I love that question, bro. I could do an hour just on that. I'm just letting I'm just letting your question roll over me like waves in the ocean, because there's so much about what you're asking. Well, the quick answer is yes. Of course, you can be the intellectual in the cult. But the second part is, and I'll bust your chops a little bit on this as one of the more progressive people I know, is we got to change that. We got to stop thinking they're all dummies, which is packed into your question. You're kind of expressing incredulity that really, can you be an intellectual in a cult? That's what it comes across as, and that's one of our flaws. you know, this show that I do does overlap into politics, but I really want to do one that's just politics. My Frank Zappa politics, I'm really going to start gearing that up soon. Possibly this week, we'll have the first stream, and we're going to get into just talking about politics with people who want to. I know people are here to talk about hummus and how do you roast peppers properly and all that. But I color outside the lines. But I want to put that out there, bro. We call them all idiots, racists, fools, and morons. That's problematic. It is. They not all of them are. So you ask. It's kind of a leading question. Like, yes, David Koresh was fucking brilliant. What can we say? David Koresh was brilliant. Jim Jones was brilliant. And those are the leaders of the cult. But you go down the line, you watch documentaries, and you see who was in there, packed with brilliant people. People who leave their jobs, or some of them are teachers, some of them are professors. Yes, they're brilliant. They just had something that led them to believe. So I think let's remove that. Maybe that's one of our 2022 things. We need to not call them all dummies, not all racists. We're going to lose this election in 22 if we stay on that road. Probably going to lose it anyway, as in terms of taking a beating in the House and all that. But the more we just say, oh, they're just a bunch of racists, wow, that's problematic. Here's what I'll offer up. A lot of them are racists. Someone else smarter than me said it, and I use this all the time. Not everyone who voted for the previous president is a racist, but all the racists voted for him. Right? Does that make sense? Think about that again. Not everyone who voted for him is racist. No. But all the racists, that's who they voted for. So that's what we need to internalize. Not everyone stupid and clueless, not everyone in a cult is stupid and clueless, but they attract a lot of stupid and clueless people. So you have this, and the work needs to be done on our side. The more we just point a finger and say, they're just idiots, they're just racists, the problem we have is twofold, because A, they're not. B, the ones who are, that just makes them drill down further, because now you're calling them clinging to their Bibles and guns. Now you're calling them Tammy Wynette, Stand By Your Man. Now you're calling them gun nuts clinging with gun racks, as Howard Dean said. The Democrats have a greatest hit of this shit. It starts in about 92 with Hillary, when sitting next to Bill, defending his first story of philandering, right? Was it Jennifer Flowers, or was it the other woman? I forget. And she said, I'm not going to be some Tammy Wynette sitting at home baking cookies, Stand By Your Man. Wow. That insulted several million Americans right away, who felt, wow, that's pretty demeaning. All the way to, she bookends it nicely with basket of deplorables. Good one. The capping her, what was that, the 20? Yeah, that's a nice quarter century of capping, of end caps there, 92 to 2016. And then in between there, Barack Obama, they're clinging to their Bibles and guns, and so all of that shit. If you're in the heartland, that's why you vote red, in part. It's not all your reasons, but that's a big reason, because it's insulting. Now let's fight them on the facts and the actual. Let's promote the basics that we'd like them to vote for, and that actually works. Bernie Sanders showed that. That's why he terrified the DNC. Bernie Sanders showed that you go in to Indiana, Utah, Wyoming, Nevada, Arizona. He showed that you go to these places, Missouri, that Democrats usually don't will, and you look them in the eye and you say, I'm here to make sure that you've got 14 years of taxpayer-paid education. We need comprehensive health care. Everyone wants that. The 1% is running away with our legacy. We need to make sure that our elderly are taken care of. No retired person should be dying in the street or can't afford their pharmaceuticals. We're here to make sure that these corporations pay their fair share. Stop moving their money to the Caymans. I mean, he just went down the list. And blue collar people in Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia said, hey, and I also Googled, and he's not going to take my guns because he hasn't in Vermont or he's never voted, that way. So I'm voting for this guy. Never forget this, folks, because we now know the truth. The Democrats kneecapped him. We know this to be fact because we got the Debbie Wasserman Schultz letters and emails, right? We know. So we need to stop just calling them a basket of moron deplorables. Again, some of them are, but the little 10% that we can reach are the ones that Bernie reached, are the ones that used to vote for Democrats, and they're working in, they're blue collar. They're working in factories. They're working in farming, schools. They're construction people. They're utility people. They're hardworking people in warehouses and textile companies, whatever. All these people used to vote for Democrats. Archie Bunker was a fucking Democrat. I don't, none of us agree with, the negative shit that he said, but he was practically lovable compared to these people today. But one thing he was a classic Queens Union guy who voted blue. Why? Because that's who was fighting for his Social Security, his worker wages, his capacity to buy, him and his wife, of course, to buy a home in Queens or Bronx, wherever they were. There's lots of things wrong with that show. Don't sit here going, Andre thinks we should. No, there's all kinds of patriarchal shit and all kinds of stuff in that show. But it's a beautiful show because it gives you some snapshots of some things in America. It's a hilarious show. And I love that you've got the Stivic character there with the ultra liberal hippie anti-war kind of thing. Lovely show in terms of, so many things. The Jeffersons, right? George Jefferson shows up on there. And there's some great stuff about race, and then that becomes its own show. But I want you to think about that. We used to have Archie Bunker voting for Democrats. Not anymore. You're called an idiot and a moron and a lowlife and a racist and a gun nut and clinging to your Bibles enough. You're going to say, fuck you people. I'm not saying that's that's all of the votes, but that's a chunk of them that I think we can get back by saying, hey, you know what? We can disagree on a few things, but I think you want your kids to afford a future with education in it. So that kind of thing. The steak and the vodka. Let me back up because I'm going to wrap up. But oh man, some great comments. So Robin says anyone can be in a cult. Yeah. Conspirituality. Oh, that looks great. Oh, I heard about that one. The description makes sense. I heard about that. Can you send me a link to that? Because I'll forget. So can you be my memory, please, Robert Renee, and send me that? I heard about that. The intersection of the wellness community and the cults, QAnon. I think I read an article. Yes, I read an article about that intersection because there's a lot of wellness community who's anti-vaxxer and all this stuff, anti-science, some of them. And this article said there's a podcast. So Daniel, believing or not, and this is great. I got a couple of the original Project Object members on here. Daniel Carter Gibson and Robin Renee were on stage for that first show. So good to have you here. And in Zappa Conceptual Continuity, there it is. I happen to have this shirt on. So believing or not questioning a leader's political party's definition of a cult. Believing or not questioning. That's a tough one. The definition of a cult, I think, is pretty well laid out. Yeah, it overlaps with what you're saying. Sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with the political party, though. That's the part I'm stuck on. But you did say leader or political party. Yeah, so it could be religious leader. But yeah, that's kind of the definition. No, not questioning. But you know what? A lot of people didn't question Hillary Clinton. I just triggered you. See, whoever you are, someone just got triggered. and that's how bad it is. Just bringing her up in a way that's not infinitely flowery, it triggers some people. And that, sorry, you got to do the work because she's fucked up on 20 different issues. Whoever might have been triggered, but that was kind of cultish. I remember 2016 trying to say to people, pleading with them, "Wow, she's problematic on the Clinton Foundation, the stuff with the Saudis. She's problematic on her views on fracking. She's problematic on her money from the CCA, right? You know, what's it called again? Incarceration Corporation of America, whatever the initials are. But her and Podesta, her campaign manager, he's one of their biggest lobbyists. So when that came up, that she's talking outside of her mouth about social justice and reforming the judiciary and all that, it's like, yeah, lady, but you're taking Uber millions, not from Uber, you're taking Uber millions from CCA, Corrections Corporation of America. So where do you? And they dropped it. Go look this shit up. I don't have to make shit up. They dropped CCA in like August of 2016. Sorry, too late. You're already a hypocrite. And so I know a lot of people who unquestioningly followed her. So there's kind of a cult on the left too with this stuff, because as soon as you say any rational stuff, that's, and my attempt is, let's get out ahead of the bad stuff. Let's win this by getting ahead of it. Nope. Liberals flip out. You're a misogynist. No, that's absurd and I shouldn't even address it, but no, she's horrible on A, B, and C. She's great on E, F, G, H. She's amazing. I love Hillary Clinton for the things she's awesome on. But I think it's sociopathic that you can't criticize the things she's bad on. It's weird. So just answering your point there's cults on all sides there. Raymond, yeah, so he failed with the steak, the vodka, the airline, the hotel, and the fucking casino. I think I need to put that into a song. That's a good one. Steak, the vodka, airline, hotel, casino, uh, something. I'm not blanking all conservatives. I mean, I see the differences. I know, but you said it in a blanketing way, right? And it's okay though. We're not here to debate. We're both on the same page. We're not here to debate the problem with the right because they're a fucking mess. Obama's Pennsylvania conservative gaffe. I can't remember what it was, Frank, but I do remember that. They all just, they look down. Biden saying, "You ain't black unless you vote for me." Wow, bro. Wow. Like that? That shit took me. He's lucky he said it far enough from the election that I had time to what? Wow, bro. You ain't black unless you vote for me. You motherfucker. And that's after decades of the Democrats basically treating black and brown people like shit. Only coming around, when it's election time. And Biden has a long history of that. A long history. Again, y'all don't look this shit up, but he's been a longtime senator in Delaware, which includes Wilmington, a very high percentage black population. And he would show up there at election time. And then how's Wilmington 6 months later? It's still fucked up in Wilmington. I mean, it's okay. I lived there very briefly with my dad, who lived there and worked at AIG for many years. But again, you ain't black unless you vote for me. So it goes all through our side. Hillary tapping into our base fields. Yes. That's a great one. Yes. Do they even know what a write-off is? No, but they do. They're the ones writing it off. Oh, that's great. Yeah, Daniel. Well, I hope you were saying it in 2016 how horrible her campaign was. And I get it. We had to whisper that and just get people out to vote. I get it. I have friends that get really mad at that. But reality is, it's reality. Raymond, why? Thank you. I like Bernie Sanders. I watch him a lot. I voted for him, and then I voted for Hillary, as did at least 85% of his voters. I don't know why they keep blaming this guy. Because guess what? The other 15% were Republicans who voted for Bernie. They never would have voted for her anyway. Think about that. And he gets all the blame. Uh, yeah, Frank Polina, you're right. Carol O'Connor slash Archie Bunker. Well, Carol O'Connor though was a big liberal. Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. Thank you, Rob and Renee. Conspirituality. Thank you, and that's a great recommend. Frank, I know you would love that too because we talk about some of that shit. Conspirituality.net. I'll check that out. Sean Gilmore, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Did I see that Melania is releasing an NFT? Oh my God. No, I didn't. That's pretty funny. Um, Eddie Rifkin will buy that shirt. Well, maybe I'll do that. Let's talk about. Yeah, bro, get in on the design. Mr. Mighty Slim, thank you. I do enjoy. I don't do. I'm not a great impressionist, but I do a couple of them decently. Coffee, Raymond says. I know. I haven't had coffee, folks. This is how amped up I am with no coffee. That should scare you. Be afraid. Be very afraid. I haven't had coffee in. Did I have any yesterday? Yeah, I don't. I don't need it. I'm actually gonna go drink some. So woe to the people who. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. One of the things I'm gonna be working on. I'm gonna publicize this later, but you get the scoop right now. One of my favorite musicians, composers of all time, and I don't like the words favorite sometimes, but we need it. But he's certainly one of my favorite 3 guitarists, and at any given time, it's one of them who I just cannot listen to enough. But my 3 favorite guitarists are in all likelihood, Bill Frisell, Pat Metheny, and John McLaughlin. Just 3 incredibly influential guys who've been in, and of course, I love everything. Jeff Beck and Vernon Reid, and John Schofield, and a million other people. Steve Vai, Van Halen. We can go all day. Alex Lifeson, Pete Townsend. Those are all kind of my favorites on that ball right there. Andy Summers, and but I keep going back to those 3 to listen to. Tomorrow is the 80th birthday of John McLaughlin. Wow. And out of all those people, that man perhaps has been in more fields of music, whether it's being with Miles Davis or before that, Graham Bond organization, and doing all the session stuff that he's on in the 60s. His Mahavishnu Orchestra literally changed it all. That shit, right? That's the birth of so much of a certain type of fusion of jazz rock. And then with Shakti, he once again brought in this. Indian music was already popular. Ravi Shankar was at Woodstock, but he brought it in. He hybridized it with acoustic guitar, popularizing people like Zakir Hussain and El Shankar and others. And he wouldn't stop. He did all these other jazz records around that, and on and on and on. And so I love John McLaughlin. I talk about him every year. And tomorrow, January 4th, 6 p.m., I'm going to publicize it here. We're going to do a round table, as I do. This will feature, I'll be hosting it. We're going to have Greg Bendian, who's the drummer in the Mahavishnu Project, a band that was endorsed by all 5 Mahavishnu members of the classic band, early band. And they actually brought Jan Hammer out of retirement. He played with them. It will feature Alex Skolnick, the governor, the guitarist from Testament, one of the big 5 thrash metal bands that helped create that genre. Alex, of course, has a second career, a second world as an incredible jazz player. His jazz trio, his time with Trans-Siberia Orchestra, his work now with Pact, which is Percy Jones himself, Kenny Rogowski, and Tim Motzer. And Alex, huge John McLaughlin student, and going to talk about that journey of McLaughlin in pedagogy and in guitar, how it helped change guitar. Talking about how McLaughlin changed guitar also is going to be none other than Vernon Reid, who many of you have seen on my streams before, my dear friend, and somebody who's covered a bunch of the music of John McLaughlin also. But was in the band Spectrum Road, which is the rebirth of Tony Williams' Lifetime, which featured McLaughlin. So I have all these overlapping stories. Even if these guys didn't have these connections, they're just great music fans, and we're going to talk about John McLaughlin on his 80th birthday. So look out for that. Finally, my special guest, one more guest going to be on besides Greg Bendian, Alex Golnick, Vernon Reed, myself hosting. Very honored to have the one and only Chester Thompson will be there, the drummer, of course, uh, jazz drummer extraordinaire, drummer of a lot of you know him from Frank Zappa and the Mothers. Many of you know him from Weather Report, and a bunch of you, maybe even more because they were on the radio more, know him from Genesis for 20 some years, maybe 30 years. I don't know the exact number. Someone can tell me. But going to be a great discussion. And of course, Chester is part of the big three, right? You got Weather Report, Mahavishnu Orchestra, and Return to Forever. In terms of the big three kind of seminal jazz rock fusion type bands that came out of the Big Bang of Miles Davis, Bitches Brew. And so Chester, we talked about it already before, and I can't wait to hear his just his memories, his views on the importance of that music, but also what it was like seeing something like the Mahavishnu Orchestra early on stage, and we're going to talk to all those people about what they're doing now today and the influence of this incredible person, composer, guitarist, band leader, visionary named John McLaughlin. So that's my plug for the show tomorrow night. I'll have it here on all of these media. I'll have it on my YouTube. I'll have it on my Facebook. Blah blah blah. You'll you'll get a notice if you follow me at Guitar Tour on Twitter or Instagram if you prefer. That's where I tend to put these things, and you know we'll go from there. Folks, thanks so much for your time. I'll see you next Monday. And next Monday, our special guest will be chef, entrepreneur, raconteur, great dad, world traveler, environmentalist, animal rights advocate, hilarious guy. He's a very funny guy. Real estate, brilliant dude. Just all kinds of things. And he's my dear friend, Mark Wolf Lorano. He's going to be here in 1 week. Can't wait to talk to him about all of those things and about the years he ran one of the greatest restaurants in New Jersey, in that tri state area, called Grazers, which they had in the 80s and the 90s. So we're going to have that next week, January 10th. See you at 3 o'clock Eastern. Thank you. And it's Veganuary. Hey, get the percentage up as high as you can, folks. I think you'll feel better. You'll get a bunch of new recipes. You get a bunch of new ideas. And maybe find out something new about yourself. Stay positive.